Hi guys, it's Louise. This video will be about the infamous court cards that most of us struggle with once in a while at least. I'll be talking about the courts as ways of being, as states of being, you might say. Ways of being aware, or approaches to life. And no matter if you use the courts as other people in your spreads or your readings, or if you use the court cards as aspects of yourself or aspects of process you're in, I think you will be able to find some inspiration maybe in what I'm talking about for both ways of reading or using the courts. So we might think of the courts as in terms of hierarchies, in terms of ranks. So you have the page, the knight, the queen, and the king on top of all of it. We might also think about them as having functions, like the pages having the function of being a novice or being somebody who runs errands for other people, like a function in that sense. And we might also think about the king as having the function of leading, of leadership, and so on. We might also think about the courts as being different stages in a process. And so all of these ways of approaching the courts, whether it is through function or process, or ranks, hierarchy, those ways of looking at the courts interfere, of course. But it might be really nice to at least have those different approaches in mind when looking at them. Yes, so just looking at my notes, what will I be saying in a minute? I'll be looking at what the court cards are really good at, what they are very much aware of. And I'll also be talking about how the courts long for things, not necessarily things, but how they are longing and what they might be drawn to, which is not really within their usual comfort zone, but still drawn to it. And I find those aspects really, really interesting. What could the example be? If you're a knight, do you ever long for being at home? Or if you're a king, do you ever long for just being part of the masses and just going shopping without anybody knowing or recognizing you? So that kind of internal dynamic is really interesting when it comes to readings, and so I'll be talking about that as well. And I think that's enough for the introduction, and let's have a look at some cards. Let's find our little page here with the little rabbit in the background. Can you see it? Now, those guys, the Vanti, the pages, are a sort of dreamer in that sense. It's also the observer. And the pages, let me just find you some more pages from this deck, because I really forgot how beautiful it is. So we have a lot of Vantes here, and they are, in a way, they're dreamers or imaginers. They are good at collecting things, collecting knowledge, collecting dreams, collecting stuff. And they're also very good at archiving things. And they are really interested in signs. They're really interested in the things that are represented, or that represent something. It could be stories that represent real people or that represent archetypal figures. It could be signs, for example, language, letters. It could be maps, presenting again or in a new way the real pathways out in the world. They are really interested in language as well, and in general in studies. They're interested in the field of knowledge. In some ways, they're a little bit invisible. But they don't mind. They don't mind, as long as they get to gather things and they get to collect and archive things that's in their minds either or on the shelves. The outside world sort of goes inside of them. They absorb the world. They suck it all in, Yes. Let's have a look at our nights now. Let's go for the Medinier. I will tell you in the end which. Well, actually, I'll tell you now. So what we've just been looking at, here we go, is the La Corte de Tarocchi by Il Meneghello, and now the Medinier is this one, the Medinier by Yves Renaud, and those are the ones here. And let me just show you the last deck, which are those, the lovely Bolognese tarot, looking like this. Really difficult to find, so sorry, by Il Meneghello, but you can find it in other versions as well. I think Lo Scarabeo has one as well. And the last deck is the very bright and vibrant, colourful one over here, which is the Tarot du Roi Nisanka, like that, by Maria Mestre. It's a Grimaud deck. Yes, so let's get back to our knights. Let me find you some knights here. We have a Knight of Swords, and they're all doing some horseback riding. Quite handsome horses there. Handsome fellas as well. Long, blonde, curly hair. So, okay, our knights. Those are the ones that are actually doing the gathering. They're the ones who are working really hard out in the field. Those are the pioneers, or sometimes also the provider, snatching up things. It's the heroine. It might be girl looking like this. It is the one who is the presenter, as you might say. The one presenting things, the one giving a present to the page, from the outskirts of the kingdom, It's the one who is also a representative of the king, or actually the one being out in the countryside or out in the world and representing the myths or the figures that the pages are studying and talking about. So they're the ones inhabiting or embodying all the stories, They are the ones doing things. They are the ones moving about in the world. So they're really into actions, and places and also things and material stuff, picking it up or doing something about it, if if your vehicle, you know, breaks down, you might have to fix it, you know, with herbs for your horse, or with water, or with water for your car. You know, like you have to improvise and act immediately or spontaneously in the very moment. And so they're also concerned with presence. They can be very passionate, so they're really concerned about their space of action. They're very much concerned about how to make what's inside of them get out into the world and become real in the world, become seen. They're very visible, as opposed to the page, which can be a little bit more sort of invisible and in the mind. Inside the house, at home, where the page is archiving things and ordering things and dreaming about things, you know. So this guy, the knights, whether male or female or a mixture of, or androgynous or whatever, are concerned with, yes, spaces of action and real space, so to say, not just mind space, but earth space. Yes, let's have a look at some queens. Oh, let's do the queens with the Tarot du Juanizanca, because they are so beautiful and vibrant, beautiful clothing. Togetherness, solidarity, a sense of belonging is really important for those court cards. They are very aware of being a tribe. They're very aware of the workings of a pack, of a group. They are concerned about who's in the margins, so as not to leave or exclude anybody, or leave somebody outside. So they're very much concerned about membership and being part of something. And therefore they're also very much into relations and very sensitive towards atmospheres, interested in culture, flow of thoughts, flow of visions, flow of feelings, a flow of connections among people or among brain cells, among bodies. So they have a very good understanding of circles, and in that sense, they also tend to work invisibly or in the invisible, because you can easily become anonymous in the group, right? When there is a group, a lot of people, you have the opportunity to not stand out, so to say, to simply be the group. And in that sense, always, in a way, becoming the outside, becoming what is next to you, becoming a whole, becoming one, all becoming one. And so in the flow of connections, you can also lose yourself, and that is sometimes a really good thing to do. And sometimes not, depending on the context. But sinking into the invisible workings of relations and the tribe is what those court cards are really good at, and very much aware of. Yes. Let's have a look at the last ones, the kings. And for that we will be looking at the Tarocco di Bologna. You find here some kings here. Yes. King of Wands and the King of Coins here. We've got a King of Cups sitting here. I drank too much. There's a stomach, it appears. And the King of Swords, or daggers. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold still. Now, the kings. The kings are often thought about as leaders. The kings are very aware of themselves, and in that sense also of self, of ego, of themselves. They focus on the centre and not so much on the margins as the queens do. They're more attentive or attentive to the centre, or aware of the centre. They have a very good sense of centre, like a sense of self. And they are very concerned with having their seat, having habitating a place, having a territory, and they are very skilled at marking the border of something, the borders between themselves and other people, or the borders between land, the borders between territories, or that make up territories rather. They're also the state in a way, and they also are very good at making statements, whereas the queens are more into the flows of contacts or thoughts. And in a way, in that sense, the queens are more into thinking, whereas the kings are more into thoughts themselves, manifesting a thought, uttering their minds. They're very visible. I mean, they have a very public face. They have a name. They have territory. They have belongings. They have a history, a family name, maybe even. They are in that sense very visible, and they are becoming not the outside as the queens, but they are becoming an inside. Hence, the focus on the centre. I mean, if you put centre and self together, you might get self-centeredness, But actually, being self-centered is not a bad thing. It's not a very good thing. It's simply a state of being that makes you become, that makes you a person, that makes you an individual, really. And an individual in relation to the world. And that's what these guys are really, or strong women are really good at. It might sort of become a bit distorted with all that self-centeredness, of course, and you get a really egoistic, narcissistic person, who acts only on their own behalf, and not thinking about other people and being really like a tyrant or a dictator. And that's not a very good leader, is it? Might be a strong leader, but not a very collective-minded leader. Not a very sustainable kind of leadership, at least. But the self-centeredness might also be exactly what the queens are longing for. Those words were about the dreamers, the pioneers, the tribe people, the centre people, that we all either meet in our lives or that we embody ourselves in different stages of life and in different situations. And I hope that all those figures might inspire you in your readings or your studyings or whatever it is that you're into for the moment. So take care, guys, and Hope you enjoyed the little Christmas rose that I found for you. I really liked